Hey, and welcome to the highlights of episode number 245 with Nick Broadhurst. Some of my favorite parts of this episode were firstly when he shares about his latest single, Inner Love, which is so beautiful, and how this song came about from his battle with depression. I also loved it when he shares about how our diets affect our mental health and his transition to a whole food plant-based diet and what this has done for his life. But there is so much more wisdom and inspiration that you get in the full episode. So to listen to the full podcast and get all the info in the show notes and hear the incredible new single, Inner Love, all you have to do is head to melissaambrosini.com/245 right now. Welcome back to the show, darling. And for those of you that are new to the Melissa Ambrosini show, you might not have heard much about Nick's story and his battle with depression. So, honey, can you take us back? Tell us your journey and how and why you ended up writing Inner Love. What's it all about?
If you don't know my story, in 2009, I had meningitis, and that knocked me around something chronic. It really just destroyed my nervous system. Something which I didn't understand at the time was the effect that something like meningitis can have on your central nervous system. And I never really recovered from that, or not for years anyway. But that put me into, I was bedridden for about 3 years. I barely left the house. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars seeing experts. But my whole body was racked with pain. I sometimes didn't have the energy to get out of bed. I had zero libido and zero motivation, but I was never depressed. It's quite interesting. I still had good mental health for that period. And through a whole bunch of different things, I did climb my way out of that health challenge. And sometime after that, it took many years, but I found my beautiful wife, you, Melissa, and we didn't have any particular challenges with health, but there was a real turning point for me. And that was when I went keto. And I went into keto because there was all this so-called science about it and the anti-cancer benefits and all this sort of stuff. And I bought into that whole keto thing. And what it did was basically completely destroy my microbiome. I went from pretty good health and pretty good gut health to complete gut dysbiosis, complete candida, bacterial overgrowth, and SIBO. Because when you introduce a high-fat diet, especially saturated fats in the form of animal fats, it creates dysbiosis. If you want to create dysbiosis, just go keto. That is the fastest way to destroy your gut microbiome. It got so bad that I couldn't even walk the length of Bondi Beach. I remember super clearly, and darling, you'll remember this as well. How far is that? 1 kilometer? Yeah, not even. Maybe 800 meters. I didn't know how I was going to get home. And that was the extent of where I'd taken my body. And as a result, my mental health really suffered. So from literally, and this is the most bizarre thing, from January 2017, January 1st, 2017 to January 1st, 2018, exactly, I was depressed. Really badly depressed. And not very pleasant thoughts. I started contemplating what it would be like not to be here. And of course, I never acted on that because my motivation to be here was too high for my family, for Leo, for Melissa, for my purpose, which is my music. But it was incredibly challenging. And every day I would say to myself, it's going to be all right. 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 It was literally a moment-to-moment survival for me. And when you hear it, you would have heard at the beginning of this podcast, a little sneak peek of the beginning of the song. The chorus is, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. It's going to be right. It's going to be all right, which is why we've actually partnered with Movember and other mental health organizations for this song. And of course, the pre-chorus to that is inner love, inner love, inner love, inner love. Because ultimately, for me, that's what it came down to. It came down to treating myself way more kindly, practicing that self-love, that inner love, and really making a choice that I was going to change my state. I had to, because the path I was going on was not going to end well. And Inner love is about that journey. It's about the journey from dark to light, which you will see beautifully in the music video.
And it's so beautiful when you watch it and you feel where Nick is singing from. Oh, full on goosies. It's so beautiful. But it's been a while since you released any new music. The last was your album Thank You, which came out in June 2018. So tell us why there's been a delay or that big gap.
Well, definitely 2017 was not the most creative year for me. It was very hard to be creative while I was depressed. I didn't write a single song that year, which has amounted to anything I'm going to release. So that's interesting. I've actually listened back recently to a couple of the things that I wrote during that year, and that was so sad. In fact, I was crying in one of the songs in my recording because I was in such a bad place. And I know I'm laughing now because I can't even really relate to that feeling anymore. And it's not a laughing matter. Depression is serious. I know that. We know that personally because we had a friend take her life because of a very long battle with depression back in December 2018. So I know how serious it is, but I wasn't very creative. But also some good things is that I have been working on a new album deal or record deal with a company called Outlier based in Los Angeles, and also a new management deal for myself and for you, which has taken quite a while to put together. And now it's all together, we can finally release music. So it's a combination of things.
And last week we opened up questions on my Instagram stories, and we've got a whole bunch that we're going to get through today. So one common one that came up from our tribe was, why did you decide to go plant-based?
It's quite interesting. I was getting eczema. I decided because of my eczema, I thought, maybe I've got an autoimmune problem. Maybe I'll do autoimmune paleo, which is the AIP. So I started doing AIP, which cuts out so many good things now that I know this now, but also it kind of increases your animal product intake. And I felt so horrific on that. I only did it for about a week, basically. And about a week into it, I woke up one morning, I rolled over and I said to Melissa, I'm done. I feel completely done with animal products. I don't know what's happened, but the thought of any animal product makes me sick right now. And so I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it really well. So I went really deep into the science. I just gorged on books around plant-based nutrition, a whole bunch of things. And very quickly, I saw the light, so to speak. I realized that what I had been following for so many years was really cherry-picked science and really taken out of context. When I looked at the true science, I saw that the greatest thing you can do for your health is go plant-based. It really is that simple. And I was hesitant to ever make that recommendation. But now that I'm this far into it, I just think I'm doing a disservice if I don't say it, to be honest.
Totally. Okay, so Tasha in London 31, has going vegan had an impact on your mental health? So can we talk about that?
So much. I mean, mental health has so much to do with gut health. And the simple fact is that the more animal products and the fats we eat, honestly, a high-fat diet means your gut health is going to be off, as I said before. And dysbiosis, bacterial overgrowth, high saturated fat, right? And with so much of the serotonin, I think about 90% of the serotonin, your happy hormone being made in your gut, if you're feeding these bacteria, this beneficial bacteria, the foods they want, which is essentially a diverse range of fiber from a diverse selection of plants, then you're going to be having a diverse spectrum of different bacteria in your gut. What we want to have is as many different types of beneficial bacteria being fed what they want. And we do this by having a lot of different types of plants in our diet or plant-based foods. The more diversity you have, the more things you're going to feed in your gut. And majority of our bodies are made up of bacteria. So we have to be feeding that. And I think that's the main benefit when it comes to plant-based diet. You're feeding all these beneficial bacteria, which of course is going to mean a healthier body, which is going to mean better mental health. What we need to eat more of is greens, is fruit. In fact, one of the best things you can do is get way more greens into your diet, leafy greens, right? So lunch
and dinner are the same. So the template's the same.
Yeah, it's always a starchy carbohydrate of some sort. So it's either sweet potato,
Beetroot, pumpkin.
For me, it can also be a brown rice pasta sometimes as well. It's another grain that I can get in. And we have steamed vegetables. And
every color, every variety, whatever's in season.
Just chop it up, throw it in, steam it. Really, really simple. And we have some sort of legume. So whether that is a tempeh, like a chickpea tempeh or a azuki bean tempeh, or whether it's tinned red kidney beans, whether it's
mung beans,
like just anything really that's legume based, because again, they are just one of the healthiest foods on the planet.
And then we also have fat, which is usually our two favorite fats are avocados and olives and nuts and seeds.
Yeah, and really important is our ground flaxseed and ground chia as well for that fat source. And we only grind it every 2 or 3 days just to keep it really fresh. We don't buy it ground. So dinner is basically the same again.
Yeah, same sort of template.
And it just mix up. Sometimes we want to get adventurous. We might change the legume we might make our own really clean falafel, or we might do a Mexican day. But the template's the same. You're just mixing things up. We just keep it really simple during the week because we just want to eat healthy and, go and sit on the beach or do some more work. But on the weekends, when we have more time, I might do a big Mexican cook-up or a big curry or something.
What are your favorite plant-based fats and protein options? This is from I am Liz Hoffritter.
Fats, I think we mentioned before, it's avocado, olives, nuts and seeds, ground flax, ground chia. These are things we have in our diet every single day. And we just, include them where we're not anal about it. We just make sure they're there, plenty of healthy fats. In terms of protein, I want to just say that, protein on a plant-based diet is the most common question, especially when you start building muscle. It's like the bigger muscle you get, they say, where do you get your protein? It's like, well, I'm building muscle. Obviously, I'm getting protein from somewhere, right? And I get it because we've grown up in a culture that has conditioned us to thinking that protein comes from meat. But where does protein actually come from? It's in amino acids. Where do amino acids come from? They come from plants. Animals either get their amino acids from eating the plants or eating an animal that ate the plants, but the originating source is always amino acids.
How did you start moving more to a plant-based diet? This is from Megan Beck 1.
The best way to think about transitioning to a plant-based diet is to just do it gradually. Right? Now, we'd already been eating legumes and we were about 90% plant-based before we went 100%. So for us, it wasn't a challenge. I didn't notice any difference in my digestion. But if you're going from, 50% and you're replacing calories from dairy and refined carbohydrates and animal products, all of a sudden you're replacing that with high fiber things like legumes, nuts, seeds, fruits and vegetables. Your fiber intake's going to jump up drastically. And so eventually it'll balance out. But if you want to minimize that discomfort, then just do it gradually. Start with one meal. Make breakfast fully plant-based. And when that feels good, make lunch. And then when that feels good, make dinner. It's really that simple. Give your body time to adjust to the new level of fiber. And with that new level of fiber, you're going to live a much healthier, happier, and longer life. It's that simple with much lower risk of dying from anything.
Okay, let's talk about the supplements that we take. Can you talk about those on a plant-based diet? This is from Love from Brooke.
Let's talk about B12. So B12, there's a misconception that you need to get this from animal products. It's not true. B12 actually comes from bacteria. And we used to get so much of this bacteria because we'd be pulling things out of the ground and eating dirt, right? But because of cholera and certain diseases that spread, we had to bring a high level of sanitation in around our food supply. So all this bacteria, all the dirt has been washed off. It's that bacteria that actually makes the B12 in our guts. So because of our food supply, we just have to supplement with that now. And that's just one of those things that in most studies, it shows that most omnivores are also deficient in B12. So just put that argument aside and say, okay, we're going to take a B12 supplement. Big deal. And we use a methylated B12.
Okay, so next question. How Nick builds so much muscle with plant-based living lifestyle?
Well, I'm glad you noticed. Thank you. Yeah, I did build quite a bit of muscle. And of course, let's face it, going from training 3 times a week to 7 makes a big difference. And that was my experience. I literally just became so much stronger and more muscular. But of course, the training matters. The training's really important. And I was training really consistently, 5 days a week, which were heavy lifting, and 2 days a week, which were just purely a 20-minute arm session, just a lot lighter to give my body a rest. But I didn't even need the rest. In the past, I just could not even contemplate. When I started this training protocol, I'm like, I'm not going to get through one workout, let alone 7 of these a week. And I got through the first and I thought, I feel really good. Did the next one, still feel really good. And then within that 8-week process, I completely transformed my physique. And it feels so freaking good to be strong as a man. It just does. I love it. It's the best.
Okay, I'd love to know about your experience with celery juice and the benefits that you have felt. That's from Rachel and Chandler.
Yeah, so I sort of, before being plant-based, I didn't even consider any of Anthony William medical medium work. And I thought, you know what, I'll try it. And I noticed a difference from being plant-based without celery juice and plant-based with celery juice.
And it's so yummy. It's
so
delicious. Good. Why would you not do it? Why would you just not add it?
And
it's just juice.
The more, I said this morning, the more we have it, because we have it every morning, 16 ounces. Every morning, my body's great, it's ready for it. And I have it, and then I'm straight to the toilet as well, which is amazing. It's like instead of drinking coffee to go to the toilet, you drink a celery juice, and it's just the most incredible cleanse. So what can I say about it? I would say, like anything, try it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about some basic steps and tips for going more plant-based with a family.
I mean,
like you said.
Leo hasn't noticed anything.
He doesn't even question it.
He goes between 2 different homes. One home is not plant-based and one is. And the food's yummy and that's all that matters. He's not
Yeah, you've got to make it yummy. That's the thing. You can't just give them some steamed broccoli and...
Although some kids do love that.
Yeah.
In fact, Leo loves steamed broccoli.
Yeah.
But, yesterday we came back from the beach and I got the watermelon out of the fridge as a snack and we were frothing, man. We were just high as you could get eating this watermelon because the taste, the color.
And that's what happens when you're eating also chemical-free and organic produce. It tastes different. It really does.
So start with your breakfast.
Yeah, just do one meal.
If you're going to
make it tasty.
You can do a healthy plant-based muesli, for example, right? You can get whole food mueslis and you can make your own nut milk or just buy nut milk. If you are going to buy nut milk, I don't like the long life ones. They tend to have canola oil or sunflower oil.
Oh, make sure you check the
read the ingredients. Not every nut milk is good for you.
But make your own. Just grab some almonds and make your own. And you're also not wasting on the plastics or whatever they come in. So yeah, just make your own. It's cheaper and it's easier.
1 cup of almonds soaked overnight, rinse them in the morning, blend it with 4 cups of water. There's your almond milk.
Easy peasy. You can do that with hemp milk. You can do it with macadamias, cashew, whatever you want. It's so easy.
Make sure you strain it, of course, through a nut milk bag. So you could just do a muesli with nut milk. You can introduce more fruits into the kids' diet. That glucose is so good for their growing bodies and for their brains.
That's what they should be snacking on. If your kids want, if Leo wants a snack, it's either fruit or a carrot or carrot sticks or something like that. And he's loves that. He's frothing.
And no kid's going to complain with a medjool date. And give them a date as a snack. But for meals, sweet potato chips, amazing. What about a brown rice pasta with a tomato sauce with some fresh herbs blended into it? It's so easy. It really is.
Plant-based burgers or zucchini pasta with a beautiful sauce or a Mexican night or sweet potato pizza we had the other night. So I think with kids, what I would say is definitely starting with 1 meal and then go to 2 and then go to 3 and then make it fun, get them involved. Get them picking recipes with you. I think that's really fun for them. Yeah. Getting them involved in the process, getting them up there cutting. Kids love being in the kitchen, absolutely love it. So get them involved as much as possible, get them picking out recipes and just starting with the 1 meal and go from there and make it tasty. But let's talk about what is your manifesting process.
I think it links back to what I said before, just sitting down, because you do have to take action. You have to be consistent and you have to take action. So that daily action is what moves things forward and creates the future that you want to create. But I still do use some more, spiritual methods. When I'm meditating, the last 2 minutes of our meditation, I always do some sort of visualization and sometimes even call for guidance or help to make that happen. But a lot of the time I sit in the feeling of that thing having already happened.
What are you visualizing at the moment?
I'm visualizing my tour,
Beautiful.
what it feels to be like on stage holding space for that many people and the songs that I'm going to be performing.